teenage boys girls at girls only boys only schools. What is something that mixed school students wouldn't experience? Cheerleading squad without a football team. Dances with brother high schools. I think we had one men's bathroom for every 4 women's bathrooms. I went to an all-girls Catholic boarding school in the middle of nowhere. An assembly had to be held for the year 7s, age 11-12, on why it was inappropriate to catcall the young IT guy, who was the only male under 35 in the school. That poor guy must have felt so awkward. My all-boys school was, and presumably still is, next to an all-girls school. If you go to a mixed school you probably don't see the level of commitment these guys would go to in order to hang out with the girls. There was a spiked fence between the two schools, probably about 8-10 feet high, and you'd see far too many boys trying to climb it and hurting themselves while the girls watched. The stupidest part? The fence didn't run across the entire boundary. If they walked about 5 minutes you got to the end of it and could just walk round into the girls' school grounds. Yeah, but the spiked fence is right between them, so the girls can watch me be so tough and manly by scaling it and hurting myself. I grew up with some friends that went to religious school that kept the girls and the boys separated. Separate buildings, with a shared common area, but the break times were staggered so the boys and girls wouldn't interact. They told me they spent a lot of time staring out the windows at the girls. That and there were girls on their block that they technically went to school with but they knew nothing about them. That just seems sad. Why are they not even allowed to interact? Seems so odd to me. The sheer amount of disgusting girls can be when there are no boys around to impress. Burp and fart jokes, running through the halls yelling for a tampon, changing in the hallways, that is, stripping down to underwear without concern, sharing period poop sex stories with large groups, incredibly creepy discussions about crushes on male teachers, full, upper, school assemblies discussing how it is inappropriate to only wear a thong under your school skirt on a windy day, so much more. Incredibly creepy discussions about crushes on male teachers. Too true. We only had 2 male teachers but they, and our groundskeeper, were basically pieces of meat. You could kind of immediately get a sense of the kind of person someone was based on which of them was their favorite. My friend went to an all-boys high school in Miami and told me that after 4 years surrounded by nothing but boys the females teachers that are as old as dirt start to look fuckable. Went to an all-boys school. Can confirm, it sometimes gets even more extreme. We know of a guy who was caught jerking off when a teacher he fancied entered the class. It's fan-freaking-tastic. Just how we all hate and love each other at the same time, it's so great. No one is sensitive and if you say an insult no one takes it literally. Yep, at my all guys school, we played kickball at lunch. No competing for attention of females so everyone just talked crap. Played quarters, kickball, or basketball. Went to an all-boys high school, graduated in 09 so this was recent. The higher levels of tolerance for roughhousing fights. The administration was very reasonable about violence. Once I beat the crap out of a sophomore when I was a junior. I didn't get in trouble at all because he started it. Pantsed me without warning and I didn't know him either. The general off-the-books policy was that as long as nobody was hospitalized if you didn't start it you didn't get in trouble. Hahaha, there was a trend for about a month where guys would jump out of the second story window of the science building after getting to class and then walking in like they were late. Yeah, it didn't make sense then either but we thought it was funny as heck. I went to a Catholic all-boys school in California. That's important because even though it was religious it wasn't as heavy as you get on the East Coast or Europe. Honestly, it seemed easier than most high school experiences. Without girls around when hormones are peaking out, there's none of that alpha posturing dong measuring contests you get when you have mixed social groups. We were all a bunch of jocks, nerds, geeks, you name it, but none of us clashed and we were all on good terms. Sure, you still had the odd butthole, but those are everywhere. Compared to a lot of my friends, I got a lot less stress from my social life. Our school has had a reputation for some reason as the place all the girls like to congregate. They weren't in the classroom, but they were around. Track events, theater, music programs. It's not like they weren't there. Our school dances were open to other schools. so we'd usually get girls coming around from all the schools in the area. One year they had to stop selling girl tickets. They were already selling 3-1 over tickets for the guys. Overall it was fun. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. The guys I met there are my closest friends, and I think I had a better high school experience than most. Generally conversations at an all-boys school tend to be way weirder. Like I mean dark jokes and insulting banter all the time. Then in 6th form the girls come in and it all changes to relatively PG conversations. Oh yeah, my boarding school was real cold and dark in the winter and we all knew everyone so incredibly well. The only things that were funny anymore was crap we just made up on the spot. Eventually it just turned into incoherent nonsense. Like instead of saying hi to your best friend you might just stare at each other for 15 seconds licking your lips. I went to an all-girls high school. Freshman year a lot of the girls would make up for the lack of boys by covering their lockers with pictures of Zac Efron or some other hot celebrity. And if anyone had a birthday then a ton of girls would band together to decorate that person's locker with wrapping paper, pictures, etc. Periods were talked about more openly and it was likely that you would sync periods with one of your friends. Pranks were common. My friend put a condom in her teacher's desk during the middle of class. Someone put goldfish in the toilets. We saran wrapped every surface of a teacher's room. And we also filled a teacher's room with screenshots from Silence of the Lambs. Outbreaks of dancing and singing were common. Girls were generally more confident to ask questions in class and were able to express themselves without worrying about a boy's opinion of them. I was a theater kid and we would have to call every guy we knew to try and get them to come fill in the male roles. A lot of the time we had older men, 40 plus, to play love interests, which was pretty creepy. Oh yeah, and we all took food very seriously. As soon as the lunch bell rang, there was a stampede of girls running down the halls, especially on taco day and when there was chicken tenders and fries available. Meeting all the girls from all the surrounding towns instead of being stuck the same chicks you've known since the first grade. Had to play girls roles in my all-boys school productions. Was fun. I graduated from an all-girls boarding school in Western MA. There's a few major differences. 1. Most of the girls ended up experimenting sexually with each other, myself included, regardless of their orientation. A lot of hardcore lesbians pretty much became straight after we graduated. Another big difference was that because we had no boys in class with us, a lot of students didn't feel compelled to act dumb to be found cute or attractive to boys, which actually had a huge positive impact on our education. It definitely allowed us to develop a stronger sense of self and be more confident in our opinions. We did have inter-school dances with neighboring all-boys schools a few times a year, and those almost always devolved into a hormone-fueled orgy that would make Caligula proud. Almost every dance you had massive amounts of drugs and alcohol in circulation and people were caught having sex everywhere from broom closets to behind bushes. Overall, it was pretty fun. My twin sister went to an all-girls high school, where I went to a public high school. Besides academics and such, her school had better test scores and teachers, but less elective classes which led to poorer moral. The girls there were always a lot nicer as opposed to my school. There was also a lot less bullying at hers. I'm sure it happened, but it wasn't as obvious as it was at my school. A lot of kids in my school, myself included, were openly bullied, where that just didn't happen at her school. However, it was also a Catholic school, so the LGBT+ kids were very much closeted. The LGBT+ kids at my school could walk around freely. They were also more open at her school. You could ask for a pad tampon in the middle of class instead of whispering it to the girl next to you. The smell. Oh man, the smell. I went to an all-male high school, and even when I visit 6 years after graduation, the smell is still there. You can't describe it accurately, but I'll try. It's a combination of must and sewage and feet. That may have also been due to the age of the building, but even in the new wings, at the time, 10 years old, had that smell. On the plus side, the all-male environment really helped me acclimate to fraternity life. I don't actually go to an all-female school, but there is one in my community. We shared buses and used to have dances together and our cheerleading dance squads were combined. as well as Girl Scouts, so we were over there fairly often. My favorite incident was when a girl and her little sister ran up the hallway and the little one's pants were all bloody. Her sister screams, "Hey, someone gimme a pad, my sister's on her period." Like 40 tampons hit her in the head. No one, not even the sister who was just publicly announced to have started her period, looked embarrassed. I've experienced what statistics say is true. Girls in all girls schools tend to do better in math and science. People talk about boys are competitive. It's the testosterone. Girls are cooperative. The world would be a better place, etc. etc. Cooperation is better than competition, etc. etc. But when girls don't have boys around to be demure for, they are competitive as all heck. Also, it was really nice to have the snack shop stock maxi pads in plain sight, though I generally saved my money and always had a spare on me regardless of the time of the month. Oh yeah, and we were all in sync. Apparently the pull of about 100 girls at school is stronger than the pull of 2 other women girls at home. In my experience, it was overall friendlier and we felt more open to discuss anything and everything with each other, and the teachers would recommend. I have heard that this is true unless the boys are competing directly with the girls despite them being in different schools, etc. That is, if you tell boys this is part of a competition with the girls, they will outperform the girls. I can't remember if the girls were told to or not, or both. Basically, guys need to be in competition to do their best. I go to an all-guys high school, and we have such a great time. We do so many things that we would otherwise not do if there were girls in the room. We can all just act like guys and not have to worry about impressing or being judged by girls. It's been years since I graduated, but I loved my all-girl high school. It certainly wasn't for everyone, but I enjoyed it. Contests about how long people can go without shaving their legs, openness about periods, asking for tampons, complaining about cramps, etc. Ponytails, no makeup, and uniforms. Having to import boys from other schools for male roles in the school plays. All of the leaders and athletes being girls. Our cheerleaders cheered for the volleyball and basketball teams. Complete lack of football. I have never been to a football game, except once when I played in the band. So much less focus on romance drama than my friends in co-ed schools. Even later on, in undergrad and grad school, I was more likely to speak up and ask questions in class because I was encouraged to do so in the single-sex high school environment. Also, this may be just my school, not single-sex schools in general, but we didn't really have a concept of popular not popular. There were definitely cliques, very seriously, but none was really above another. The sense of brotherhood. You could do something idiotic at any point and suddenly 6 other guys would have your back. One time my friend lost at odds to start chanting USA, USA in the cafeteria. Within 10 seconds the sound was deafening. We had people coming out of classrooms to see what was going on. We had a girls' school and a boys' school that was strictly separated because it dragged down grades. But all this meant was that because we had no interaction as friends, whenever we had a chance to mingle it basically just descended into freaking. Sounds good. Oh man, I love these comments. I spent my last 2 years of HS in an all-male boarding school and it was the best. Yes, the conversations are generally dark, are really not PC, but for the most part none of those off-color or even racist jokes came from a place of hate. They were terrible and they were funny, and that's it. If we had had good white people jokes we would have told those too. The brotherhood was unreal as well. And there were so many levels to it. From your roommate to your friends to your house to your sport and then your school overall. There were in-house fights and squabbles all the time, but unless actually witnessed by an authority figure, or on the rare occasion where it went too far and was reported by someone, there was no retaliation or punishment, and the 2 people fighting were friends again the next day. There was hazing of the underclass, but I know of only one time when it went too far and it was immediately reported by about 8 people, and then harshly dealt with. Also, I'm pretty sure that school stunk to high heaven. We were disgusting because there were no girls to impress. Wake up, put on yesterday's uniform and run to class cause you are going to be late. No one cares. They all look like crap too. We had a sister school across the river, so it's not like we were never exposed to women, but not so much on campus. Hands down the greatest 2 years of my life, and I've yet to find a brotherhood that matches. Go Big Blue. You're my boy Blue. I went to all boys schools from the 7th grade until the 12th in Australia, and can say the camaraderie is amazing and it is much easier to focus. Single sex education hinders the development of soft skills and social skills required for life in the real world. It came as a shock to be working with girls at university and later in employment. Can confirm. Given that I barely ever interact with girls, I never know what to do around them, regardless of whether I have a crush on them or not. All boys school. We had to import our cheerleaders from another school. They were the ones who didn't make the cut at their own school. That did not matter to us one bit, seeing as how they were actual girls. All boys school as well. We had cheerleaders but they are all dudes. I go to an all boys school and we just talk crap to each other the whole time and don't care who hears. But we aren't always without girls because there is an all girls school like 5 minutes across the fricking road. I know, it's stupid. Well, I've graduated, but I did go to an all girls high school. Here's a nice example of WTF. One day someone's brother rode along in the car with their mom to pick up the daughter, and girls went from classroom to classroom opening the door and going on campus. Think he's Kate's brother. No word on if he's in a relationship, and then they'd go to the next room while other girls would go to the windows to look and discuss if he was cute or not. Reminds me of what used to happen when I walked through my brother's frat house. And I was like 5 years older than most of them. They got more respectful when they found out who I was. If I brought him food they were downright solicitous. The high school I went to was previously an all-male school. It changed to co-ed about 10 years earlier. One day I asked my long-tenured math teacher how different the school was back when it was all-male. He told me about a common prank students used to do. Whenever he would write something on the chalkboard, someone would rip a huge fart when he wasn't looking. When he turned around, all the boys in the class would point fingers at each other. He said once girls were introduced to the classroom, this fad quickly disappeared. Taking the sat in a room full of chicks was a huge distraction and a disadvantage after spending 3 years in school with all dudes. The whole thing just felt so weird. We have to regularly have class meetings to discuss how to treat women in the real world, because they think that not having any girls around we don't respect them anymore. Decent theory, I've seen it prove a right, but like, I don't really want to sit through a presentation on why it's not okay to abuse a girl. I think I have that on lock. Went to an all-girls school. It was always kind of funny when the school hosted events and we had to tell guys to go all the way upstairs to the foyer for their bathroom. Students from mixed schools are used to there being both gendered bathrooms in every hall. Also, we had a uniform at my girls' school and I have to say, it was kind of nice. Roll out of bed, drag on a polo and some slacks, no makeup and roll into school. It was nice to not give a crap because the uniform looked pretty awful on everyone, so no one cared about what we looked like. In a girls' school, it was the open, unashamed talk about periods, tampons, pads, the pill, cramps. It was just an open discussion. There were often calls around the class, top volume, asking if anyone had an emergency pad because somebody's period had just begun. Never getting questioned for going to the toilet with your bag. I didn't realize how strange it was until I started at a mixed gender college a couple months back. No period talk, none. The one time a girl needed a pad, it was done with whispers, and then a discreet meeting in the toilet. So weird to me. Referencing the girls' schools by how promiscuous the students were. Everyone knew school X was full of promiscuous girls, while school Y was like a convent. Coming to school with pajama pants on under your skirt, and seeing how many periods into the day you could get without being told you were out of uniform. Go to an all-girls school. I suppose the relationship between us and our teachers is quite unique. Other than a couple of grumpy old shoots, we'd all consider the female teachers to be our mummies and sisters, depending on age. As for the men, we have similar relationships to that of an uncle and niece. There's something about being in an environment with only a couple of men that makes everyone suddenly very sensitive. We regularly have very personal conversations with teachers. In addition, given that at school age, the vast majority of people are attracted to the opposite sex, for whatever reason, there's absolutely zero shoots given about what you look like. We have no boundaries, and there's surprisingly little bitching. Whether it's announcing that you need a tampon, or having a good cry and rant to your teacher and class about whatever, I feel that there's a certain camaraderie that comes with being in an all-girls school. The blatant talk of periods and bitchiness, the fight for the mirror when school finished for the walk home, being handed makeup wipes and told to remove makeup, also told what color to dye hair. Had a friend who shaved her head and she still had to attend school, but wasn't allowed to go to class. She had to sit in the library for 2 months. I also managed to live up to the Catholic schoolgirl stereotype and dated a teacher. Freedom to be yourself, with no opposite sex to impress around. We rarely care how we looked or behave. The guys used to have funky hairstyle without being ridiculed. There was a lot of swearing. Trust me, there is a reason that sailors are so good at cursing. Lot of sports outdoor activities. We had to channel our energy somewhere. Again, with no one to impress. All activities were done with brotherly love. Women are from Venus. We had no idea about opposite sex. Literally no idea. There were weird theories and stereotypes. We had a hard time talking to girls. Still do. Co-ed boarding school student here. I was part of the debate support team, the go-to-spot response guy for when the other team scores a good point. In other words, nerd of nerds. But even I got ogled at every girls' school our debate team went to. Me, scrawny, late bloomer with and burner glasses on, made to feel like I was meat hanging from a tree. Spoke to my wife about it much later, and she pointed out that they weren't lusting for my body, they wanted me for my brains, before pointedly proving that point herself. Yeah, it was a light bulb moment 17 years too late. I went to an all-male college. One thing was you could throw on pajamas or whatever you wanted, and didn't have to worry. Another that stands out was our homecoming queen contest. As part of our campus-wide homecoming contest, judged by faculty, each fraternity's pledge class would dress up one pledge as queen. There were 2 routes, as pretty and classy as you could, makeup, wig, shaved legs, or as trashy as possible, pulled up string on the biggest most bearded guy in the class. At my single-sex school there are dances that are absolutely insane. All the single-sex girls' schools and girls from co-ed schools are invited. But since people are most likely never to see each other after the dance, it turns into a make-out fest. Good times for the 13-year-old me back then. Conversations are so much weirder. Seriously, no one gets judged as much, at least at my middle school, so weird crap happens. I went to an all-guys school for 4 years, and one thing it does is it improves your relationship with your guy friends. Also, one huge thing that really made things easier was not having to worry about girls at all. For example, I never worried about how I looked or what clothes I was wearing, and I wasn't as stressed out about my image or anything. Contrary to popular belief, being in an all-guys school does not turn you gay, it just makes you like girls more. No need to worry about how you look in the morning. I went to classes with a fugly t-shirt, a pair of sweats, and my hair looking like I walked through a class 5 tornado, and no shoots given from anybody. Read. Attended an all-boys Catholic high school. I went to an all-guys boarding school for 4 years. Something I can tell you for sure is that the essence of brotherhood can only be established in the absence of girls. Honestly, my high school was such a special place because nobody was ever trying to impress someone else or look good for girls, cause there were none. The jocks would hang out with the nerdy kids because there were no girls to judge them for it. Seriously, amazing things happen when boys stop judging themselves. Girls' school here. No offense boys, but the hallways smell way better. I personally feel like there's a sense of sisterhood, or maybe that's just me, and hardly any girls wear makeup. I think it's because we feel less pressure to impress boys, so we're all good. It's boring to not have crushes though. Finally, a question catered to me. Firstly, I wake up 15 minutes before I leave in the morning. No fricks given towards my hair or shaving. I can fart in class, sleep without being worried of looking like an idiot, and don't have to worry about not doing something stupid in front of a pretty girl. No drama, no ratchet girls, and no couples making out in the halls. Our student section is solely my best friends without any annoying girls trying to smash in, and our athletics programs thrive because no money has to be spent on girls programs. Our school dances are seen as exclusive so girls love going, and every fall and spring your phone is much more active with girls seeking dates. Pep rallies can get crazy because you don't have to worry about trampling a 4'9" 90-pound Asian girl, and most teachers being guys led to great conversations in class ranging from sports talk to actual life discussions with 30-year-old guys who know exactly what you're going through. Wouldn't go co-ed if you paid me. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.